Chapter 1. The Creased Envelope.
Did the NBA gift Patrick Ewing to New York? Long before social media frame-by-frame detectives, there was a grainy television feed from May 13th, 1985. The Waldorf Astoria chandeliers glistened. NBA Commissioner David Stern stood behind a transparent drum, and 7 oversized envelopes tumbled like laundry in a dryer. The stakes were colossal. Whoever won the spin would claim Georgetown's Patrick Ewing, a 7-foot phenom equal parts agile and intimidating, exactly the kind of franchise savior marketers dream about. Context matters. The Knicks, once champions in the early 70s, had sunk into mediocrity alongside a decaying New York City. Wall Street's surge hinted at a civic rebound, but Madison Square Garden seats were half-filled and TV ratings sagged. Stern, barely a year into his tenure, believed stars, not geography, would rescue the league, yet he also knew a revived Knicks franchise, stationed in the nation's media capital, could supercharge that plan.
The team whose logo is in this envelope will have the first pick in the NBA draft.
So when Stern pulled the final envelope and announced, the first pick goes to the New York Knicks, jaws dropped, and suspicions ignited. On slow-motion replay, a subtle bend appeared on one corner of the winning packet. TNT analyst Pat O'Brien even joked on air about a badly mangled envelope. How did it get creased? One camp insists the Knicks packet banged against the drum's metal rim as it was loaded. Others claim NBA staff chilled the envelope beforehand so Stern could feel the temperature difference. Conspiracy lore even notes that Ernst & Winnie, the accounting firm supervising the lottery, counted Gulf and Western, the Knicks' parent company, among its major clients. Stern laughed off the chatter, quipping that any rigging theory at least kept people talking about the NBA. Yet the aftermath looked like a marketing masterstroke. Thousands of season tickets sold overnight, national ratings climbed, and Ewing became Madison Avenue royalty, literally starring in sneaker commercials about conquering the concrete jungle. Believers see pattern recognition. If the league handed its most valuable prospect to its most valuable zip code, why wouldn't future lotteries lean toward Orlando for Shaq or Cleveland for LeBron? Skeptics counter with counterexamples, like Zion Williamson landing in small market New Orleans, but the seed of doubt was planted in '85, and no amount of official denial has uprooted it. What remains indisputable is the narrative boost. The Knicks reached relevance, the draft lottery became must-see television, and the NBA learned that controlled chaos sells. Whether Stern merely capitalized on fortune or orchestrated it, the creased envelope turned a bureaucratic procedure into high drama, setting a precedent for every scandal-tinged storyline that followed. From Manhattan boardrooms to California hardwood, our next stop shows how a different kind of controversy, one involving whistles instead of envelopes, nearly derailed a dynasty and convinced an entire region that the scoreboard could be swayed by design.
Chapter 2. Whistles in the Kingdom. The 2002 Western Conference Finals controversy. Step into Sacramento's Arco Arena on the evening of May 31st, 2002. Cowbells clang like alarm sirens. Purple confetti cannons stand ready, and the Kings, small market darlings built on ball movement and community pride, hold a 3-2 series edge over Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant's star-studded Lakers. 48 minutes separate the NBA's scrappiest underdogs from their first finals berth, and perhaps the NBA's broadcast partners from a nightmare matchup lacking Hollywood sparkle. For 3 quarters, the teams trade haymakers. Then comes the fourth, a blur of whistles so lopsided it still raises pulses 2 decades later. Los Angeles attempts 27 free throws to Sacramento's 9. Backup big Scott Pollard fouls out in 11 minutes. Vlade Divac exits soon after, and Chris Webber, Sacktown's engine, must tiptoe on 5 fouls. Meanwhile, Shaq barrels through the lane like an armored truck with diplomatic immunity. The climax arrives inside the final 3 minutes. Webber spins baseline, buries a hook, and no bucket. Offensive foul. Next trip, Robert Horry hooks Divac's arm. Divac is whistled instead and sent packing. Moments later, Kobe elbows Mike Bibby during an inbound. Bibby collapses, yet the whistle targets Bibby for holding. Each call swings possession, momentum, and ultimately Game 6 to Los Angeles. Stat sheets alone ignite suspicion, but context fuels inferno. The league's three-peat storyline around the Lakers was gold for ratings. A finals featuring Sacramento and New Jersey threatened to crater national viewership. Commissioner Stern had casually quipped that his dream matchup was Lakers versus Lakers, a throwaway line turned smoking gun in fan forums.
Add ex-ref Tim Donaghy's later claim, unverified but salacious, that two officials manipulated Game 6 to extend the series, and you have all the ingredients of a lasting conspiracy theory. Historians note that Donaghy was himself disgraced for gambling, yet even without his testimony, replay libraries reveal enough eyebrow-raising moments to keep debate alive. Defenders argue that officiating mistakes are inevitable under playoff pressure, and Game 7, an overtime thriller, was still there for Sacramento to seize.
I think what happened more than anything with this scandal is that everyone got very paranoid about every game, and the NBA had a rigged feel to it. Do you think it is rigged?
Definitely manipulated. When you talk about Dick Bavetta in 2002, I don't know if you remember the famous Lakers-Sacramento Game 6, right? Yep. He openly said to a lot of us that he was the NBA's go-to guy. He was put on Game 6s to make sure they went to a Game 7, and that was one of the most fucked up, games in the history of the NBA. Yes, yep. And when you talk about three referees supposedly making so many mistakes in a conference final game, where in America can you perform at that level in your job so poorly and still go to the next level and ref in the NBA Finals and get another bonus of $20,000? If they were so bad and the league was so upset, you think that they would have not moved to the next round, but they advanced to the next round and got paid for it.
Critics counter that momentum is everything. Rob a team of its rhythm in a pivotal Game 6 and you effectively script the series. The Kings never recovered. The Lakers hoisted their third straight Larry O'Brien trophy, while Sacramento embarked on a 16-year playoff drought. Fans still attribute to that whistle-heavy night. Most conspiracies thrive in the absence of transparency, and the NBA's referee evaluation system remains largely opaque. Freedom of information requests reveal nothing. Last 2-minute reports didn't exist then. The league's standard line is simple human error. Yet for Kings loyalists and neutral observers uneasy with the coincidence of commerce and outcome, Game 6 endures as Exhibit A that officiating can bend or break championship destinies. With the echoes of cowbells fading, we turn to an even bigger shadow over NBA lore, one cast by the greatest player ever. Next, we unravel the mystery of Michael Jordan's sudden exit and ask, was it grief, burnout, or a behind-the-scenes suspension that pushed him off the hardwood?
Chapter 3, The Ghost Season. Why did Michael Jordan walk away in his prime? June 1993. The Bulls have just completed a three-peat. Michael Jordan is 30 years old, and the only question anyone bothers to ask is how many rings he'll end up with, not whether he'll win another. 3 months later, the game's most unstoppable force shocks every newspaper in North America by announcing, "I have nothing left to prove." On the surface, the decision reads like a fairy tale exit, an athlete stepping away at his absolute peak. Scratch that surface, and you stagger into a maze of grief, gambling ledgers, and whispered suspensions that still divides barbershops 30 years later. First, the heartbreak. In July '93, Jordan's father, James, is murdered on a lonely North Carolina highway. Father and son were inseparable. James dreamed Michael would one day trade hardwood for hardball and suit up on a baseball diamond. Less than 90 days after the funeral, MJ retires and signs with the AA Birmingham Barons, citing a need to honor Dad's wish. From a purely human angle, the move makes sense. A grieving son, grasping at childhood memories to dull the ache of sudden loss. Yet timing breeds suspicion. While Chicago fans mourned, federal investigators and tabloid reporters pored over Jordan's high-stakes gambling habits. A $57,000 check to convicted drug dealer Slim Bowler, $108,000 in unsettled bets linked to a murdered bail bondsman, and golfer Richard Esquinas's bombshell book claiming MJ owed him $1.25 million, all surfaced in rapid succession. 2 NBA inquiries concluded without punishment, but critics noted the second probe wrapped days before Jordan's retirement press conference. To conspiracy theorists, the sequence feels too tidy. Big scandal, closed door investigation, voluntary sabbatical. Add Jordan's own farewell words, thoughtful, if David Stern lets me back in the league, maybe I'll return, and the rumor mill goes full throttle. Did the commissioner quietly suspend his superstar to shield the league from a Pete Rose-style betting catastrophe? Stern always scoffed, saying an under-the-table banishment of his cash cow would be idiotic. But absence of proof isn't proof of absence, and fans found ammunition in Jordan's hyper-competitive nature. Could a man obsessed with domination truly choose minor league bus rides over banner ceremony? 17 months later, the mystery thickens. A fax reading simply "I'm back" lands on Bulls letterhead, and Jordan returns as if the pause button has been hit, capturing 3 more titles and burying, but never quite killing, the suspension whispers. Alternative explanations, burnout, media fatigue, even a marketing tie-in with Space Jam float around, yet none silence the lingering notion that his retirement served a purpose bigger than baseball nostalgia. What remains indisputable? The NBA's mythology grew tenfold. Jordan's departure left a vacuum that showcased new stars, Hakeem, Shaq, Penny, and his resurrection produced one of the greatest comeback arcs in sports. Whether orchestrated punishment or personal pilgrimage, the ghost season reinforced a cynical refrain. In the NBA, when narrative and commerce collide, simplicity rarely survives. If Jordan's sabbatical hinted that powerful interests could sidestep transparency, our next chapter pushes the envelope, literally, into the foul lane, where a flood of free throws rewrote finals history and ignited the modern age of officiating paranoia.
Chapter 449, Whistles and a Title. The 2006 Finals free throw Firestorm. Flash forward to June 2006. The NBA Finals feature fresh faces. Miami's 24-year-old Comet Dwayne Wade and Dallas's European sharpshooter Dirk Nowitzki. For 2 games, the Mavericks looked bulletproof. Up 2-0 and leading by 13 late in Game 3, they can practically taste champagne until whistles start chirping like car alarms outside American Airlines Arena. Miami storms back behind 20 fourth-quarter points from Wade. But what really fuels the heat is the parade to the stripe. 34 free throw attempts to Dallas's 23. Okay, one night happens. Then Game 4 tilts similarly. By Game 5, the imbalance is impossible to ignore. 49 Miami freebies versus 25 for Dallas. Wade alone equals the entire Mavericks roster with 25 attempts. When Bennett Salvatore whistles a phantom foul on Dirk at midcourt with 1.9 seconds left in ode, Wade buries the winning free throws, and conspiracy theorists feel vindicated in real time. Enter Tim Donaghy, the disgraced referee who a year later will admit to betting on games he officiated. In his tell-all personal foul, Donaghy claims league executives flooded finals officials with highlight reels of missed calls against Miami from games 1 and 2, hinting the whistle needed correcting. He further alleges a vendetta against Mark Cuban, eccentric owner, serial fine payer, league office thorn. Suddenly, what looked like inconsistent officiating acquires a motive. Extend the series for ratings, punish Cuban's outspokenness, and avoid a dull 4-0 sweep.
Data points stoke the blaze. Veteran ref Danny Crawford, allegedly no fan of Cuban, works 2 pivotal Miami wins. Dallas is 1-10 in its previous 11 playoff games under his whistle. The Heat shoot 84 free throws in the final 2 games compared with Dallas's 48. Wade's 16.2 trips per contest at a finals record, outpacing prime Jordan. Yes, he absorbs heavy contact, but replays show multiple and ones with air between bodies. Defenders counter that Dallas still had chances. Up by 5 points with about 2 minutes left in Game 3, the Mats committed a shot clock violation and missed 2 open looks. Dirk clangs a crucial free throw with 3.4 seconds remaining in Game 3, and Jason Terry bricks a tying 3 in Game 6. Plus, Miami's veteran savvy, Alonzo Mourning's rim protection, Gary Payton's clutch shot mattered. Conspiracy or not, champions exploit breaks, yet perception shapes legacy.
Ask a random fan about 2006 and odds are they mention free throw fiasco before Wade's brilliance. The NBA introduced more rigorous referee grading, public last 2-minute reports, and even coaches' challenges, partly to soothe scars left by 06 skepticism. Still, every time a star gets a generous whistle, Twitter timelines resurrect Dallas-Miami memes, proof that trust once fractured mends slowly. From suspect stripes, we pivot to front office chess, where a vetoed blockbuster exposed how when the league itself holds ownership reins, competitive destiny can be halted by a single email. Up next, the trade that would have paired Chris Paul with Kobe Bryant and how one commissioner's basketball reasons launched a decade of what-ifs.
Chapter 5, Basketball Reasons, How One Veto Shook Kobe's Last Dynasty. December 8, 2011. The lockout is thawed, the transcription wire is crackling, and Lakers fans are seconds away from smashing the buy finals tickets button. Every network crawler screams the same headline: Chris Paul to LA. In the three-team labyrinth, Dell Demps weaves, Paul Gasol is Houston-bound, New Orleans Nets picks and starters, and Kobe Bryant finally secures the table-setting savant he's never had. Twitter hails a new super duo, talk radio callers plan parade routes, until an email pings inside league headquarters. Subject line: a travesty. Author: Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert. Recipients: David Stern and 28 fellow governors. Gilbert rails that the big market Lakers just landed the best player and shed salary. Minutes later, Stern, acting owner of the cash-strapped NBA-controlled Hornets, delivers 4 words that will haunt Laker lore. I'm canceling the trade. His public explanation, basketball reasons, is so opaque it becomes an instant meme. Privately, Stern claims Demps never got ownership sign-off for moving a Hall of Famer. Yet, skeptics connect dots. Small market resentment after LeBron's decision, fear of a post-lockout super team, maybe even pressure from Time Warner Cable, which has just inked the Lakers to a $3 billion TV deal and doesn't want cost-cutting optics. Whatever the motive, the power dynamic is chilling. Owners lobby. The commissioner swings Thor's hammer and a done deal evaporates. The fallout is seismic. Kobe, approaching 33, soon inherits a roster patched with aging Steve Nash and gimpy Dwight Howard, instead of a pick-and-roll maestro. 2 years later, his Achilles snaps, and LA plunges into its longest playoff drought. Meanwhile, Chris Paul reroutes to the other LA team, spawning LOB City in one of the great what-ifs. Would the Clippers ever have mattered without the veto? Houston, empty-handed after missing Powell, pivots. A year later, they turn a Toronto-acquired pick into James Harden, rewriting their own timeline. New Orleans is the ultimate irony. Stern blocks a perceived Laker heist to protect the Hornets' competitive future. Yet the consolation package from the Clippers, Eric Gordon, Al-Farouq Aminu, Chris Kaman won first, yields little. The team bottoms out, lucks into the 2012 lottery, drafts Anthony Davis, and relocates its identity as the Pelicans. Proof that basketball reasons sometimes morph into ping pong ball reasons. For conspiracy sleuths, the veto crystallizes an uncomfortable truth. League governance isn't a neutral referee, it's an equity partner wielding veto power when optics, cash flow, or political pressure demand intervention. The story endures because it blurs the line between can and should. Yes, the NBA owned the Hornets. No, fans never expected the league itself to rewrite championship destiny in real time. If the CP3 veto showed that superstar movement can be gate-kept from the top, our next chapter dives into a stranger realm where a mid-tier stretch 4 isn't even who he says he is, and age, nationality, and identity blur like a dodgy box score.
Chapter 6. The Man with Two Passports. Most conspiracies orbit megastars. Some swirl around role players quietly drilling corner threes. Enter Ersan Ilyasova, energy-forward charge-drawing savant, and if internet sleuths are right, a basketball-born identity. Official file. Born May 15th, 1987, in Eskişehir, Turkey. Alternate file. Born 1984 in Bukhara, Uzbekistan, under the name Arsen Ilyasov, who vanishes across the border at 18 and re-emerges as a 15-year-old Turk months later. The smoking gun is bureaucratic. In 2003, Uzbekistan's federation files a protest to FIBA, alleging their former youth standout has been repackaged by Turkey. FIBA dismisses the claim. Paperwork too thin, but the seed is planted. Turkish officials say a local man forgot to register his son until 2002. Skeptics note that son just happens to be 6'9" with professional-ready footwork. Then come the linguistic breadcrumbs. Ilyasova carries a feminine Slavic suffix. Masculine would be Ilyasov. Small detail, big intrigue. Why fake it? 2 letters, U20. If Ersan is really Arsene, 3 years older, he dominates the 2006 European Under-20 tournament as a grown man among teens, wins MVP, and leaps onto NBA radars ahead of schedule. Age fraud isn't unheard of in global hoops, but Ilyasova's case stands out because he sustains an 11-year NBA career, averaging a steady 11-6 while taking charges like he's moonlighting for Geico. Critics argue the math doesn't move the needle. By the time he debuts for Milwaukee in 2006, the age gap is irrelevant in a league populated by rookies from 19 to 25. Supporters counter that every draft slot matters. Pretending to be 19 instead of 22 can shift millions in guaranteed money and alter front office evaluations.
Then there's geopolitics. Early 2000s Uzbekistan was racked by militant clashes. A Muslim family seeking stability might absolutely rebrand across friendlier borders. Still, no document, no childhood photo album, no former classmate ever surfaces to definitively shout, "That's arson." Investigative journalists chase deleted web pages, blurred youth team rosters, and one archived interview where a Turkish coach slips, "We first saw arson at 18." The clip goes viral, disappears days later, intensifying the aura. In the end, Ilyasova becomes a curiosity rather than a scandal. Unlike forged passports that upend soccer tournaments, his alleged switch neither steals medals nor skews NBA titles. He carves a niche as a floor spacer for Giannis, a rental stretch big in Philadelphia's process, a veteran voice in Utah, proof that even if the rumors are true, the league judged him on tape, not paperwork. Yet the saga matters for what it symbolizes. In the NBA's global talent rush, identity itself can be gamified. When scouts comb war-torn regions and prospects cross borders with nothing but height and hope, record keeping becomes negotiable. Today's front offices pour resources into biometric databases and birth certificate audits, partly because a 6'9" mystery man once slipped through the cracks and cashed nearly $90 million in career earnings. From forged ages, we shift to forged destinies on draft night, where a modern superstar's trade and an improbable lottery win reignite old suspicions that the envelope trick of '85 never really left the room. Next up, Luka Doncic, Las Vegas money, and a 1.8% miracle that has conspiracy theorists circling Dallas once again.
Chapter 7, The Doncic Detour. From 60-point magic to a 1.8% miracle. December 27th, 2022 felt like the night Luka Doncic reached basketball nirvana. 60 points, 21 rebounds, 10 assists, and a grin that said Dallas is mine for the next decade. Less than 3 years later, that same grin is beaming from a Lakers Media Day backdrop while Mavs fans stare at Anthony Davis jerseys they never asked for. How did the league's brightest under-25 star morph from Dirk 2.0 into LeBron's heir apparent? Conspiracy theorists say, follow the money, the politics, and oddly enough, the casino chips. It starts with banal cap math. Dallas balks at Luka's looming $345 million supermax. Lakers dangle a rehabbing ad, and Vegas odds makers instantly flip. LA title odds rocket, Dallas plummets. But the numbers alone don't explain the cloak and dagger rollout. Head coach Jason Kidd hears about the deal on Twitter. Doncic himself claims total surprise. Insiders whisper the front office fielded no rival offers, preferring a quick handshake with Rob Pelinka, who just happens to share both Nike reps and European scouting contacts with Nico Harrison. Coincidence or a pre-plotted escape route? Zoom out and the board looks even stranger. Weeks before the trade, Mark Cuban sells controlling interest to the Adelson family, casino billionaires lobbying to legalize sports betting in Texas. Days after the trade, Governor Greg Abbott publicly endorses that very legislation. Align the timeline and a neat narrative emerges. Ship Luka to the NBA's most global brand, Juice. Television ratings, curry favor with a governor, and clear local opposition to Vegas-style casinos. What's an outraged fan base compared to billions in wagering revenue? Then the ping pong balls bounce. Or do they? With only a 1.8% chance, Dallas snags the 2025 #1 pick, leapfrogging 10 slots thanks to a coin flip tiebreaker it barely won over Chicago. The prize? Phenom Cooper Flag, hyped as the first American-born next LeBron in a decade. The optics are brutal. The franchise that just offloaded its generational star for financial flexibility is rewarded with another generational star before the Luka bobbleheads are even discounted at the team's shop. Lottery officials parade Ernst & Young security, sealed briefcases, and airtight 4-camera feeds, but skeptics fixate on motive, rewarding the Adelsons for playing ball with the league's expansion gambling agenda, or giving Dallas a marketable cornerstone so ticket sales don't crater. Rigged? Maybe not. Suspiciously convenient? Absolutely. For now, the Mavs prepare to pair Flag's Swiss Army skill set with a hopefully healthy Anthony Davis and a mercurial Kyrie Irving, 3 stars whose combined drama could fuel 3 seasons of winning time. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Luka slips into purple and gold folklore. The league's global rights team salivates, and Adam Silver fields the same question David Stern faced 40 years ago. Are the dice loaded, or does the house just keep winning by chance? Epilogue. The scoreboard we don't see. The deeper you dig into NBA history, the clearer one truth becomes. Every box score triumph has a shadow story hiding behind it. Maybe it's a creased envelope in a gilded hotel ballroom. Maybe it's a whistle that tilts an entire dynasty. Maybe it's a superstar faxing 2 words that shift television ratings overnight. Or maybe it's a lottery ball that defies 1 in 100 odds just when a franchise and its new casino-minded owners need a miracle. Whether these moments are cosmic coincidences or carefully curated story arcs, they remind us that the league we love is equal parts sport and spectacle, played on wood, negotiated in back rooms, and immortalized in barbershop debates that stretch deep into the night. If this journey through scandal, subtext, and silver lining sparked your curiosity, keep the conversation rolling here. Tell us which conspiracy made you raise an eyebrow, which one you think is completely overblown, and which rabbit hole you still want us to chase. Your takes and theories power this community just as much as buzzer beaters and banner raisings power the league. If you're hungry for more, stay locked in. We're lining up fresh investigations, from the draft night promise that nearly changed Kevin Durant's career path to the curious case of the lost Tim Donaghy tapes. Subscribing ensures you're first in line when the next layer of NBA intrigue peels back. Enable notifications so the algorithm doesn't bench you during crunch time. Share this breakdown with that friend who claims everything is fixed. And drop your wildest hunches below. Together, we'll keep poking at the polished surface of the association to see what really bubbles underneath. Basketball's final buzzer never truly sounds, it just cues the next plot twist. Stick around, because as long as leather hits hardwood, the conspiracy playbook will keep adding chapters, and we'll be here to read every line between them.